Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're doing something really cool. We are sketching out exactly what life would be like on a planet orbiting two stars. We're going to bring the actual physics, the biology, and the meteorology of a binary solar system to life right here. So if you've ever wondered how a world could not just survive, but literally thrive with two suns in the sky, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it.
All right, I want to start things off with a super simple thought experiment. Imagine stepping outside on a clear morning. You look down at your feet, and instead of seeing just one dark silhouette on the ground, you see two completely distinct, different colored shadows. Sounds like pure science fiction, right? Well, on the hypothetical planet we're calling Tellus Dualis, this isn't fiction. It's literally just a Tuesday.
Okay, picture this. You're standing on an observation deck, and the planet is being illuminated by two stars. There's a smaller orange dwarf star named Eris, and a bright sun-like star named Helios. As the quote goes, the amber wash of Eris is pierced by the high-intensity light of Helios. Where the two shadows overlap in the center lies the deep, dark umbra. See, because a person's body blocks the blazing white light of Helios, that specific shadow gets filled in by the orange rays of Eris, leaving you with an amber shadow. And flip that around. The shadow blocking the orange star is filled with the scattered blue-white light of Helios, giving you this bluish-violet shadow. And right where they cross, just pure dark umbra. It is a total masterclass in stellar optics, playing out right there on the ground.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. A world with two suns. The gravitational waltz.
So the very first question you're probably asking yourself is, how on Earth, or how on Tellus Dualis, I should say, does a planet survive this without just being ripped to shreds by the gravity of two massive stars? Well, astrophysicists generally look at two stable models for a binary system. On one side, you've got the S-type, or satellite orbit. This is where a planet hugs one star really closely, while the second star is basically just a super bright dot way off in the distance. But for Tellus Dualis, we're relying on the other model, a stable P-type, or circumbinary orbit. In this setup, the planet actually orbits both stars from a safe distance around a shared center of mass, something we call a barycenter. To completely avoid the gravitational danger zone, Tellus Dualis sits comfortably at a distance of 1.12 astronomical units away.
But here's the wild part. The distance separating the two stars themselves, Helios and Arrhenius, it is incredibly tiny. We are talking just 0.08 AU. That's roughly 12 million kilometers. They're locked in this rapid, intensely tight central waltz, actually completing a full orbit around each other every 6.4 days.
Which brings us to Section 2. Evolution under dual light, the indigo biosphere.
You see, a planet doesn't just orbit two stars. Life on that planet actually has to absorb their energy. And for us, that means totally saying goodbye to the familiar green single-sun Earth we're used to. Right? On our Earth, plants are green because chlorophyll reflects green light while absorbing the blue and red. But on Tellus Dualis, Helios is blasting blue-green photons while Arrhenius is just flooding the planet with orange, red, and near-infrared photons. If plants were green here, they'd be wasting massive amounts of energy. So instead, they evolved something called duochrome phycobilins. This is a multi-layered pigment system that harvests almost the entirety of the visible spectrum from both stars. And the result? The forests of Tellus Dualis aren't green at all. They are a deep, velvety indigo violet, almost bordering on matte black. And it gets crazier, because down on the pitch-dark forest floor, specialized ferns literally use infrared active pigments just to photosynthesize off the heat radiating from the ground itself.
Now, what's really interesting here is the animal kingdom's response to all this. Because the prevailing light changes so drastically depending on which sun is currently dominant, terrestrial predators evolved a literal dual vision system. They have this split fovea eye design. Fovea 1 is completely optimized for high-acuity blue-green vision, which they use when the bright Helios is up. But Fovea 2 is packed with receptors for deep red and near-infrared light. This setup allows them to hunt flawlessly during the amber hours. That's the time of day when the bright sun has already set, but the slower, lower-angled orange dwarf is still bathing the world in this intense long-wave red light.
Moving on to Section 3, Eclipses and Extreme Tides, the binary engine.
So the biology is definitely alien, but man, the weather is just chaotic. Let's walk through the rapid sequence of what astrophysicists call a stellar occultation. Every 3.2 days, from the planet's perspective anyway, the smaller star, Orionis, literally eclipses the larger star, Helios. Now, the sky doesn't go pitch black. Instead, that bright white light suddenly fades into this rich, deep amber red. The total solar irradiance drops by up to 20%, and the temperature plummets 4 to 6 degrees Celsius in just a matter of hours.
This incredibly rapid cooling makes the land masses lose heat way faster than the ocean, which triggers a powerful, totally predictable, barocentric breeze that sweeps inland. Honestly, it's like the entire planet just takes a deep breath in and out every 3.2 days. Of course, to survive the intense, flaring solar winds of two stars, you're going to need a seriously strong shield. Tellus Dualis has what we call a super magnetosphere, clocking in at roughly 2.5 times the strength of Earth's. How does it pull that off? Well, the constantly shifting gravity of the two stars literally squeezes the planet's interior. This constant tidal flexing keeps the iron-nickel core incredibly molten and highly energetic. And a pretty spectacular side effect of this massive shield constantly deflecting dual solar winds, you get these brilliant, deep crimson and purple auroras permanently lighting up the high-latitude skies.
All right, Section 4, the binary scientific revolution, a paradigm shift. We know the physical world is intense, but what about the people actually living in it? Imagine trying to live your life around a 6.4-day barocentric week. Because the two stars are constantly shifting their positions in the sky, their combined gravitational pull phases in and out. So, on day 0, when the stars perfectly align, you get these massive spring tides. We are talking about surging tidal waves in narrow bays that easily exceed 20 meters. Then, by day 3.2, the stars reach their maximum visual separation, creating these really chaotic, irregular neap tides. Because the oceans are just so violent and unpredictable, human architecture on Tellus Dualis simply couldn't exist on low-lying coasts. Society literally had to build upward, establishing their cities on these high rocky terraces just to avoid the scouring seas. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer complexity of just figuring out what time it is. In a single 26-hour day, you don't just get a simple sunrise and sunset. You have first dawn, kicking off with a saffron sky. Then you hit high morning, when the second sun rises, bringing out those crazy double shadows. By noon, the sky is a brilliant, blinding turquoise. Midday usually brings an eclipse and a sharp temperature drop. Evening rolls around with the amber hour, and finally, you settle into deep night. Timekeeping here isn't just a clock, it's a multi-layered science.
But here is the kicker. Living under this incredibly complex sky completely fast-tracked human understanding. Think about it. On Earth, we believed in geocentrism, the idea that the Earth was the center of the universe for over 1,500 years, mostly because our single sun just seemed to revolve around us. But on Tellus Dualis, geocentrism never even took root. Ancient people could quite literally look up and watch two stars orbiting an empty, invisible point in space. The absolute laws of gravity and orbital mechanics were just painted right there in the sky for them to see. Because of this massive aha moment, their scientific revolution would have happened 1,000 years earlier than ours.
Let's look at the final chapter here, Section 5, a cosmic expiration date, the shadow of stability. 5 billion years. That is the expiration date for all of this. See, while the smaller orange dwarf, Eris, will burn steadily for about 30 billion years, the larger sun-like star Helios is going to run out of hydrogen in roughly 5 billion years. And when it does, it's going to expand into a massive red giant, completely swallow its sister star Eris, and entirely destroy the orbital stability of Tellus Dualis. The planet will either be completely incinerated or violently flung out into the freezing empty void of interstellar space as a rogue planet. It is an unimaginable tragedy for sure, but thankfully one that's billions of years away. So this brings us to a question that totally flips our perspective. We always look up at our single sun and just assume our lonely, isolated Earth is the standard way the universe works. But astronomical data actually shows that over half of all sun-like stars in the Milky Way belong to binary or multiple star systems. So is Earth actually the weird one here? Are double sunsets and deep indigo forests the actual norm in our galaxy?
Please like and subscribe.